Calling yourself a life coach or wellness coach or fill in the blank coach puts you in a category of hundreds of thousands of coaches to choose from. The coaches and experts I work with who make over 7 figures have mastered the ability to explain what they do to become a category of one. This is what's helped me generate over 50 million in revenue over my coaching and course creation career. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through a 4-step messaging framework that will put you in your own category so you stand out in a crowded market and attract your perfect clients. Here's the thing. In 2025, everyone's a coach. Life coach, business coach, wellness coach, mindset coach, relationship coach, fitness coach, spiritual coach. The market is flooded. So when you introduce yourself with one of those titles, you become background noise in an already loud room. But here's what separates the coaches making 6 figures from the ones struggling to book their first client. They understand that when someone asks, "What do you do?" they're not actually asking what you do. They're really asking what I call the money questions. What can you do for me? What's in it for me? How will my life be different after working with you? And when you make that mental shift from talking about your title to talking about their transformation, you immediately stand out in even the most crowded markets. You stop being just another coach and become the obvious choice. Here's what happens when you say, "I'm a business coach." Inside everyone's brain, there's a mental labeling machine. Kind of like one of those P-Touch machines. The moment you use that word coach, that machine instantly prints out a label. Oh, another coach. It sticks that label on you, puts you in a box with thousands of other coaches, and files you away for later, which usually means never. The coaching industry has become so saturated that the word itself has lost its power. People hear coach and they tune out. They've heard it 100 times before. But here's what the coaches who are thriving understand. You don't need to abandon what you do. You just need to abandon how you describe it. Here's a personal example. Early in my career, I tried talking to people about messaging and branding, but people don't care about messaging and branding. They care about websites, product launches, and getting clients. In other words, specific applications for messaging. But I was selling the process instead of the result. The moment I started wrapping what I do in what they actually want, game over. Everything changed. So instead of saying, "You're a coach," use my 4-step messaging framework to describe what you do in a way that sparks curiosity and invites conversation. Step 1, create curiosity. When someone asks me what I do, I say, I turn everyday business owners into online superheroes. Now that gets a reaction. People pause, they smile, they lean in and say, "Wait, how do you do that?" And that's the moment you know you've jammed their mental label maker, because our brains are wired to categorize. When you say something expected, like "I'm a coach," they label you and move on. But when you say something unexpected, something that doesn't fit a pre-existing label, they get curious. You open a door. You start a real conversation. That's the difference between being forgettable and being fascinating. Now, step 2 is to use what I call a juicy title. Instead of calling yourself something generic, try giving yourself a juicy title. Create a title that's so specific and intriguing that coach never even enters the conversation. One of my clients, Doug Hansen, could have said, "I'm a performance coach." Instead, he says, "I'm the ambassador of ambition." Instantly, people lean in. They want to know more. That title cuts through all the coach noise because it's completely unexpected and memorable. If you're a relationship coach, maybe you're a love life architect. If you're a business coach, perhaps you're the profit accelerator or the revenue whisperer. The key is choosing something that makes people curious, not something that lumps you in with everyone else. But be careful. Don't get too cute or clever. Happiness guru or life wizard might seem fun, but they don't communicate competence or professionalism. You want to create intrigue, not confusion. See the difference? Now, let's move on to step 3, craft an XYZ statement. Instead of saying, "I'm a coach," use this formula. I help X do Y so that Z. Here's an example of how you can put this into practice. I help coaches, consultants, and professional service providers get on the first page of Google so that they can get organic leads without additional marketing. See how specific that is. Instead of being just another business coach, you're now the person who helps with Google rankings. They know exactly what you do and can easily refer you to others. That's what sparks curiosity. They lean in and ask the money questions. How do you do that? Tell me more. Do you have a card? That's exactly what you want. Them asking you questions instead of you trying to convince them that you're different from every other coach. Now, there's one more powerful way to answer the question. So, what do you do? And this one goes even deeper than the juicy title or the XYZ statement. I call it the you know when statement. This is where you describe a situation your ideal client might find themselves in, something that feels so specific, so real, so true, they can't help but nod and think, that's me. And if you describe that situation really well, they lean in. They get curious and they assume you have the solution. Here's the deal. When you can diagnose someone's experience with precision, they assume you've got the prescription, the remedy, the way through. Because let's be honest, most people are walking around in a general state of anxiety, overwhelm, or frustration, but they can't quite put their finger on why. So when someone comes along and names it for them, clearly, compassionately, and accurately, it's magnetic. They feel seen, they feel understood, and they immediately think, wow, how do you know that? Tell me more. That's how you jam the P-Touch label maker in their brain, because you're not talking about yourself, you're talking about them. And that's what they were really asking all along. Even if they said, so what do you do? What they really meant was, what can you do for me? Can you help me with this thing I've been struggling with? Here's what that sounds like in action. Let's say you coach parents, like one of my students, Nirel Bade. Here's how she might describe a client situation using a you know when statement. You know when your child is struggling socially and emotionally, you're getting calls from school, nothing you try is working, and you feel like you're failing them when they need you most? Well, I help parents become an active part of their child's progress instead of just watching from the sidelines. Did you catch what just happened there? She didn't say, I'm a coach for parents. She described a real situation with real emotional weight. She made the invisible visible. And if that person listening has ever felt that way, their ears perk up, they lean in, and they start asking the money questions. Tell me more. How do you do that? Do you have a card? And that's when you know you've made a real connection, not just a pitch. That's how great conversations happen. And that's how you share what you do in a way that's surprising, natural, and magnetic, not like some sales robot delivering a pre-rehearsed elevator pitch. So here's your mission, should you choose to accept it. Choose one of these 3 ways to answer the question, so what do you do? Or really, what can you do for me? Use the XYZ statement, I help X do Y so that Z. Try a juicy title that sparks instant curiosity, or go all in with a you know when statement that makes your dream client feel seen. And if you're not totally clear on what you do, or who you serve, or what language to use, I highly suggest you join my Success School and get instant access to the Success School Business Launchpad bonus. Inside, you'll learn 5 essential trainings that cover the foundation every successful business needs. Your micro niche, your elevator pitch, your first offer, building your network, and finding your authentic voice. Whether you're just starting out or struggling to gain traction, I'll walk you through exactly how to get crystal clear on what you do and who you serve so you can confidently show up and stand out. Because this ability to speak directly and confidently about the transformation you offer is the magic key. It's how casual conversations become dream clients, how strangers turn into sales, and how your work finally gets the recognition and the results it deserves. You got this, and it's easier than you think. Get out of your head, stop trying to be perfect. It's about them. And when you can shift your focus from your fears to their future, messaging, marketing, and making money all become a whole lot easier. You were born to serve. And that's what living your message is all about. If you like this video, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a tip that could transform your business. I'll see you very soon in the next video.